live from New York City.
And then I was talking to the lady, Kara. She's like in charge of the entertainment. And I was like, yeah, I'm doing the DCL podcast today. And then I told her about your podcast, and she was really excited about it. So she's like, please send me I want to listen. So
wow,
that's cool.
That's awesome.
And because I told her last time I did it, I had so many people come up to me and say, oh, I heard you on the DCL podcast. Aww. And I was like, are you serious? They're like, yeah. So I just want to come and say hi. I was like, oh, well, nice to meet you.
Well, hello and welcome once again to the DCL podcast, where we're inviting you to sit back, relax, and we'll be on our way shortly. Well, welcome back to the DCL podcast, your podcast to help you and your family cruise a little smarter. And welcome back to the show, our co-host from Pack Your Pixie Dust. How are you doing today, Christy?
I am well. How are you, Steve?
Hey, guess what time it is?
Recording time?
Yeah.
Juggling time?
Juggling time, and it's September. Can you believe that already? And guess what ship left Europe yesterday?
Oh, I guess the Magic.
It has to be the Magic, right? Because it's the only ship that goes over there. So that was a trick question.
This is a surprise question. This is a surprise intro.
I know, put you on the spot. Well, the Magic left yesterday. They left Dover on their way to New York City, and I thought a fun show to do, for our listeners was to talk a little bit about New York. And who else better to talk about New York than our good friend Marcus Monroe? Welcome back to the show, Marcus.
I am so happy to be invited back on my favorite Disney Cruise Line podcast.
Hey.
I love it. Well,
It's true. It's so good to talk to both of you again.
Yeah, it's awesome to have you here. And Marcus is live in New York, which is awesome. You you live in New York, right?
I'm reporting from the streets. I'm on Grand and Center Street, which, if you're familiar with Manhattan, it's like in between Chinatown and Little Italy.
Okay.
But I don't live here in this area. I live on the Upper East Side. But I was biking around, so I'm actually I feel like I'm like an investigative reporter, like snooping the area, trying to find good things to talk to you guys about.
Well, you have to tell our listeners what you're doing there, because I think it's super cool.
So I biked down here today, and I'm going to Chinatown after this interview, after the podcast, to get bowls that I spin on these sticks for my bowl spinning act in my family show in the Walt Disney Theater.
That's awesome.
So I go to Chinatown, and I get these bowls at this noodle shop. And they're not special bowls made for juggling or anything. They're just actual like ceramic noodle bowls. And I do make a joke in my show saying when they break, it's not so good because it's kind of a pain because I have to go back down to Chinatown and get more bowls. So that's what I'm doing right now.
Well, maybe you should stop.
It's true. Yeah, that's true. Well, the funny thing is I didn't even break any, but I broke a different bowl that I use in my show. I had 6 melamine noodle bowls, and I broke one of them, so I have 5 left, but I have 6. I spin 6, so I have to get now. They don't make those melamine bowls anymore, so I have to get like all new bowls. So that's what I'm doing.
That's awesome.
No one cares. People are fast forwarding this part. All right.
I mean, it was really exciting for a minute, and then.
Thank you. Then yeah. Hey, it's only going to get better from here. The Magic is coming to New York, and I'm your tour guide to show you what to do, what not to do in the city that never sleeps. How's that?
Perfect.
Awesome.
Okay.
So you moved there from Wisconsin. How long have you been in New York?
Since 2004. So I celebrated 15 years on August 30th.
Aw.
So I thought it'd be kind of fun to talk to you, Marcus, about some of the places that you and your wife like to frequent around New York. So the Magic sails, and I'll just kind of throw it out there again. She's doing 9 different sailings out of New York. Most of them are down to Bermuda. There's one Canada cruise, and then there's one that goes down to Castaway Cay. And then the last one leaves November 10th down to San Juan. And so a lot of people are going to have the opportunity to fly into New York City, spend some time either before or after the cruise. And I thought it'd be fun for you to maybe talk about some of your favorite places around New York. So why don't we just start with food? Families coming to New York. Okay. Can you throw out some of the maybe the regions of the city that you like to explore for food, and if there's any like favorite restaurants or things like that?
Absolutely. So I really enjoy Thai food. Thai food's like one of my favorite things to eat, just because it's just delicious, very flavorful, and it's fairly like cheap. Like you can have a good time meal. You don't have to break the bank. Don't have to take out a loan or refinance your house. So I think there's a place right in Midtown on 9th Avenue called Room Service. And that's usually a place that has a really good like special for like families. They have like maybe like $9 lunch special. It's really good. That's called Room Service on 9th Avenue. So that's like for people staying in Midtown. 9th Avenue, actually, from I'd say 42nd Street up to 55th Street on 9th Avenue is just full of restaurants. It's not exactly like Restaurant Row. I think that's 48th Street in between 9th and 8th, 9th and Broadway. But I believe 9th Avenue has just a ton of restaurants. Now, these restaurants are not very chainy. That's the one thing I really like about New York is that you don't see a lot of there are chain restaurants, but it's not like when you drive through Middle America, you'll see like the same restaurants at every stop. You know, there's always a McDonald's, there's always a Burger King, a Taco Bell, a Waffle House, something like that, a Panera, a Noodles, a Qdoba, a Chipotle. But when you're in New York, you have all these one-off little really cute places they could be like, you know, brand new restaurant, or they could be there for like 50 years. You wouldn't really even know the difference. That's something I really like about New York is just trying a new restaurant I haven't heard of before and seeing if it's any good. So Room Service on 9th Avenue is really good. There's a ton of restaurants along 9th Avenue. If you like ethnic food, if you like American food, if you like burgers, if you're vegan, it's gluten-free. You can find something that you like on 9th Avenue in between 42nd and like 55th Street. And that's also within walking distance of the cruise ship. I wouldn't take your suitcases with you, but that is within walking distance of the ship as well.
Well, what about those people that just want to have a hot dog off the street? Any advice on that?
I would like when I first moved to the city, Steve. Like hot dogs were the only thing I ate for a couple of weeks. Like they were like $2, maybe $1, and I get everything on it. And it was like my first time in my life eating sauerkraut and onions, and I don't know what kind of meat it was. But, you know, yeah, I think if you have a strong stomach, I'd eat it. You know, go for it. Go for it.
I think the key words were if you have a strong stomach.
Yeah, you know, because you don't know. You know, they're not like, I don't know if they have to be, if those hot dog carts are like vetted by the FDA or anything. But, you know, it's not, I wouldn't stop anyone from getting one, but I probably would politely pass on a street hot dog now. But that's just me knowing my stomach.
So my youngest son also had a question for you too, because he's a huge pizza.
Oh yes,
he's a huge pizza fan.
Yes.
So where can you get some good pizza in New York?
Okay. So my favorite pizza place is on 46th Street. It's easy to remember where this is because it's right across the street from the Richard Rodgers Theater, which is where Hamilton is, and it's right. And so it's across the street from that, and it's also right next to the Scientology Center. So it's I'm not gonna. Yes. Okay. So I'm just that's just where it is.
So you might see Tom Cruise there.
You might see Tom Cruise there.
Okay.
It's a hole in the wall pizza place. I don't even know the name of it. It just says pizza, but it's like really really good pizza. It's New York style pizza. It's foldable slices. It's always fresh, really good, super cheap. So that would be my favorite pizza place in New York. I don't even know the name of it. How sad is that? But I do know the pizza is in the name of it. Because it says pizza on the thing. But also Ben's Pizza is on. So if we're moving downtown now, so we were that was in Midtown. If you're going downtown towards like the West Village, West 4th Street area, Ben's Pizza is down there. It's really good.
Is that Ben
right off MacDougal?
Sorry, is that Ben like BEN?
Yeah,
okay.
BEN.
Okay.
Ben's Pizza. There's also on MacDougal Street as well. There's also Artichoke Pizza, which there's a few of those spots around the city. They're also really really good New York style slices. It's a little more upscale than like the pizza place on 46. Artichoke Pizza is, but I don't know why. It's not like as foldable maybe, so I think it's more upscale because you can't really fold it that well. Also, in Soho, which is also kind of close to where I am right now. Right now, I'm kind of walking around. I'm on Howard and Center Street right now. But there's Prince Street Pizza. Prince Street Pizza got pretty famous a couple months ago for having just amazing pepperoni. They're almost like Detroit-style pizza, which means it's like a little thicker crust and like cut into squares. I don't know what happened there, but there's always a little bit of a line outside that forms. Prince Street Pizza, that of course is on Prince Street in Soho. Really good. Vince is the guy who runs it. Tell him I sent you. It'll get you nothing, but at least he'll know that I've been sending people there. So that's that's probably my favorite pizza spot in New York. The thing about New York, and maybe if you, Christine, Steve, correct me if I'm wrong, but since it's so expensive to have any kind of business here in the city, that you have to be, like, if you're not good, you're not going to stay open very long. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So I remember hearing when I first moved here that if you ate every single meal for your entire life at breakfast, lunch, and dinner at a restaurant in New York City, you couldn't even eat at all of them because of the fast changeover in restaurants here. So it's interesting. Yeah, that's interesting. Of course, some slip through the cracks and some, might just be like a side hustle for something else. But most of them, are probably going to be pretty good, especially if they've been open for a while. Because it's so hard to sustain a business here. There's so many people. It just seems so expensive to have rent and to go through all that you would have to do to open a restaurant and serve bad food. It happens, of course, but I'm just saying, I think most of the time, if you find a restaurant in a nice part of town, it's going to be okay. So I hope that answers your pizza question. You always hear like Ray's Pizza in New York. Like there's a million different types of pizza places called Ray's, and they all say they're the original or the most famous Ray's. I don't know. I don't eat at Ray's. Yeah, I wouldn't go to Sbarro. Don't make that mistake. That's for airports. Just Steve, you right? Am I right?
I know. Yeah, that's that's your typical airport food court pizza right there.
Right.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah,
don't eat it with a knife and a fork when you're in New York. You want to get it messy. That's part of the experience. Just enjoy it.
So you're moving around New York. Let's kind of turn to that a little bit. How do people? Obviously, you got your bike, but what would you recommend for getting around New York? How do people get around New York? Are you Ubering it? Are you taking a subway?
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Subway. Yeah, I like to do bikes when I can, just because I like to get exercise, and it's kind of fun to see if I can not get hit by a car. I like to.
Well, what are the people
Uber.
doing when we don't have a bike? Like, we're not taking our bikes on the cruise.
Right. Yeah. So, I don't have a bike. They have city bikes here in New York where you just like have a membership and you take a bike out from the line of bikes. There's tons of them over the city. And New York's been, since I moved here like 15 years ago, it's been more and more bike friendly. So there are bike lanes and there are parks that you can bike in. So if you're with a family going on a Disney cruise and you're here for the day, you want to not get killed on a bike. You take it. You can get a bike.
Yes.
You can rent out a city bike right on 59th Street at Central Park, and go through the park. And you don't have to worry about cars coming in and out. There's bike lanes pretty much everywhere. And the City Bike app also has bike lanes on the app, so you know where to go, and it tells you what direction the bike lane goes. Because a lot of the streets here are one-way streets, so you go with traffic. Pretty safe, pretty easy. If you don't want to ride a bike, I do recommend Uber and Lyft. I just pretty much use whichever is cheapest. I have both on my phones. You can also hail a yellow taxi, or you can download the Curb app, C-U-R-B, the Curb app, and that way you can kind of get a taxi like you would an Uber or a Lyft. But the trains and subways are also very convenient. Everyone always says, "Oh, they're terrible. They never work," which is true. But 80% of the time, you'll get where you need to go. You might have to do a little bit of walking, but it's $2.75 for a Metro card. So if you have a big family, it may be worth it to Uber because you're paying, almost $3. If you have a family of 4, that's $12 for a ride. And if you're going just a mile or two away, it'll probably be just as expensive to get an Uber than it would be to take the subway. And less hassle, because it can be kind of daunting when you're with kids on a subway. I've taken my little cousins on the subway before, and it's a lot to keep track of. And there's a lot of things that kids can touch that you probably shouldn't touch on a subway. A lot of germs. I'm not a germ freak or anything, but I'm just saying, I know a lot of people are, and they're not as clean as Disney ships. So you got to take your chances.
There's no Disney subway is what you're telling me. So
no, they don't have the crew cleaning the subway as much as they do on the ships, like the railings. There's no hand sanitizer when you get on the train. You're at your own. That's New York for you.
So you talked about your cousins. You said cousin, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
where have you taken? How old is he? And like, where have you taken him? What have you shown him around New York City?
So my little cousin used to live in New York. This is actually my cousin's kid, and he lived in Brooklyn. So we would go. It was when I lived in Harlem. We'd hang out at playgrounds and go to the park. There's a bunch of really cool parks all over New York City. I want to talk specifically, though, about the Highline Park. And I don't know have you guys been to New York? Steve, I know you have. Chrissy, have you been to New York?
Yeah, but like when you arrived in New York, that is about when I was in New York last.
Oh, okay, cool. Okay, cool. Oh my gosh, this is so funny. My alarm is going off now telling me that I have to do a podcast with you guys, even though I set it for the wrong time. Anyway.
Talk about Highline, because I've heard about that, and it's fairly new, right? And can you talk about what that is?
Yes, Highline is a park that is built on elevated train tracks, and it is they had these train tracks that were going over. I want to say it starts on 14th Street and maybe 10th Avenue, close to the in the meatpacking district. So they had these train tracks. They didn't really know what to do with for the longest time, and I think an artist or an architect or some designer, I don't know, they decide to make it a park. And so little by little, they did a little work for a few blocks at a time, and they created this really awesome elevated park. Now, it is super busy most weekends and nice days out just because it's so beautiful. But imagine like you're walking through, it's probably the width of like a city street, the park. And you just kind of just walk and just see the city from an elevated viewpoint. It's really cool. There's some art exhibitions that happen there. There's not a lot of food vendors on the actual Highline. So if you want to get a bite to eat, you'll have to hop off. But there's a lot of exits and entrances to the park. Right now, the Highline Park will take you all the way to Hudson Yards, and it'll take you to what's called the Vessel, which is this new art exhibit that's maybe like, gosh, I want to say like 6 stories high.
I saw that. If you Google
the Vessel,
yeah.
If you Google, it's weird looking. It looks like a spaceship or something. But if you Google the Vessel, you can see what I'm talking about. But it's a really interesting looking staircase to nowhere, pretty much. I've walked by. It looks pretty cool. I haven't gone in it yet, so I can't speak on that. But that's kind of the path of the Highline. You can see the Hudson River where Sully landed the plane in the water. Do you know Sully?
No, I don't know Sully, but I know the story.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Just checking.
Yeah.
Just checking. What airlines was that, Steve? Do you know?
That was U.S. Airways, so they are long gone. They're part of American now.
Yeah. Is that why they're gone? Because he had landed the plane on Hudson?
No. And actually, well, it's a whole long story, but actually America West actually bought U.S. Airways and American Airlines, so if you really want to get into all of that, or they will claim that they merged as well. No, I don't know Sully, but what an amazing story.
Yeah. Anyway, okay, so, yeah, that's the Highline.
Well, cool. Christy, any questions?
I don't even know where to go.
I love this because we're going all over the place.
But that's New York. New York doesn't go in a straight line. I mean, it's on a grid system, so it pretty much does. But most people in New York will go. Yeah. So my father-in-law came to visit this past week, and it was his first time visiting me and my wife in New York, and we weren't sure what to do. He's like 70. He's not he doesn't want to get on a bike, so we didn't know what to do. So I thought maybe I could talk about what we did, and that could be good for people who might be traveling to New York with people who don't want to be too active.
Definitely. Let's go down that road.
Great. Okay. So we didn't do anything. It's not good. No, I'm kidding. We
sat on the couch.
End of the story.
So the first thing we did, now this might be a little bit of a somber note, but I think it happened, and I think we need to talk about it. We went to the 9/11 Museum, which is definitely, it's very powerful. It's it's very well done, a very excellent museum that has a lot of artifacts that you probably have seen. Like they have that steel beam that was formed as a cross. I don't know, it was on like the cover of Time, I believe, or Newsweek. But they have a lot of information about 9/11 and the heroes of the FDNY and the NYPD and just citizens that stepped up. So it's a really powerful museum that I think would be informative. It's not, everyone who in the museum walks around very quietly, so it might not be the best place for kids to go. But if you remember that day, it was a terrible, terrible, terrible day. But they do a really good job of bringing, I think, America together, because you remember how when that happened, there was no Democrat or Republican, right or left. It was all just about like coming together as a country. And I think that's kind of what's missing these days from, sorry, I'm on a tangent, but I really just think it's a good, it's like that we're all, like my wife and I and my my father-in-law, we all had like the same, like, we're all like, oh yeah, like it brought us to, it gave us that feeling of hope for our country, which was really nice.
My wife went through it, and she and her friend made it about 2/3 of the way through, and then that's about as much as they could take. And I don't mean that in a negative sort of way, but I do know that it can be pretty emotional. But she said it was really well done.
Yes, yeah, it's extremely emotional, and I wouldn't recommend taking kids there before you want to go on a cruise. It might not be but again, if you're into history, if you're into, what happened that day, if you're, if you don't have to spend all day in there either, you can do that museum in an hour if you feel like you got enough out of it. But, so we started down in that area that's, I guess that's the financial district, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or the World Trade Center.
Mm-hmm.
And then what we did was we went on a schooner boat the rest of the day, which was amazing.
And what's that?
A schooner boat is one of these like old, like it wasn't old, but it's a really long like sailing boat. Almost, they have them in Key West at certain ports. They have them where the ship goes. We actually, I think we got like a Groupon for like $30, and it was like a 2-hour tour. It took you past the Statue of Liberty and down. So we got on in Chelsea at Pier 62. Chelsea's on the west side of Manhattan along the Hudson. We got on at Pier 62. And the schooner boat had like 17 people on it, so that's not a lot for how big this boat is. And it's just a really nice tour of Lower Manhattan. They kind of point out things that a ship doesn't point out when you're sailing outside of Manhattan. So that was also really super fun.
Maybe kind of a good way for families to get rather than spending all the time just to go to the Statue of Liberty, you get a great view of different parts of Manhattan, plus the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah,
so good way to maybe
such a great view.
Yeah, great way to see New York, kind of like a hop on, hop off bus kind of thing. So yeah,
exactly. So. It was only 2 hours long, and they gave you 3 drinks, which was very nice. So it was good for $30. Getting like 3 drinks and a boat tour is not bad at all.
No,
and I think they also do this tour year round. So even if you're coming in October or November to hop on the Magic, it could be fun to do. We didn't do what I'm about to tell you, but I've done it before, which is the Intrepid, the Air and Space Museum.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know this boat?
Yeah, it's an aircraft carrier, right? Where they've got a museum built, or it's a museum, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, it's an aircraft carrier that's not used anymore in battle, but they have like B-52 bombers on board. They have a ton of they have the Concorde, which was that plane that flew, of course, you know what this is, but it flew really, really fast and was really loud and really expensive. But you could get to maybe New York to London in maybe like 3 hours or something. Is that right?
Yeah. It flew the speed of sound. So it was, yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That's insane. They also have, or I don't know if they still do, but they used to have, was it the Challenger, the space shuttle?
Yes.
Or the Challenger, did that blow up? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, the Challenger blew up, but they do have one of the space shuttles there.
It's not that one. It's not that one, but they have one that didn't blow up there. And that's kind of cool to see as well. But so I've done that with my family when they've come to visit, and we were looking for something to do that's educational, fun, and entertaining, informative. And so we had a blast doing the Intrepid. My family's not into air and space stuff like that. We're not it's not really our thing, but it was we were like, all of us were like, this was awesome. So if you're looking to entertain people that have different interests, I think that's awesome. That's pretty fun.
It's the Enterprise. They have the Space Shuttle Enterprise. There you go.
Anyways. Oh, did you just look it up?
Yeah. So there
all
you
right.
go.
Times Square is also right. It's, I guess we're going back to Midtown, but it's still it's not, if you haven't been to New York in like 20 years, Times Square isn't what it used to be. It's not as seedy as it used to be. There's a lot of kind of Disneyfied. And I would always recommend seeing like a Disney Broadway show while you're in town. There's a ton of Disney shows on Broadway.
So let's talk about Broadway for a minute. Do you have any tips for how to get a best price for tickets? And maybe just briefly explain, because I don't think some people know what Broadway really is.
Yeah, so what Broadway is a Broadway show has, I want to say 500 seat. It's a 500 seat theater in New York, and it has to be in a certain area of New York City. Okay, so you can't have like a Broadway show in Brooklyn. You can have, does that make sense? It has to be within a certain district.
Well, and it used to be on Broadway Street, right? But then they've widened that.
Yeah, I mean, it really only had a few theaters on actual Broadway. But to say you have a Broadway show it goes by how many seats are in the theater, and I think there is like a little geographical location where it has to be. And like an off-Broadway show has no less than 199 seats, I believe. So then an off-Broadway show has 198 seats or less. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so how to get the best prices for Broadway shows. It's not as hard as people might think. You're still going to pay a little bit, but there's 3 different ways of doing it. The first one, which I recommend, would be going to TKTS, which is the Theater Ticket Development Fund. This is right on 47th Street and Broadway in Times Square. You wait in a little line, and a lot of Broadway shows, not all of them, but a lot of them will have discounted tickets for day of performances. You can also go to some TKTS locations in New York City. There's one in the South Street Seaport. There's a few others around, even one in Brooklyn, where you can go and buy tickets for the next day, so you don't have to wait in line the day of the show. Usually the TKTS in Times Square is only for day of show Broadway tickets. They used to say the tickets were 40% off, 50% off, depending on what show it was. But now I walked by there recently and I noticed that it's more of, they just tell you how much the tickets are. So you're looking at about $70 per ticket for a Broadway show if you go through TKTS, which is about half off a usual Broadway ticket price. Yeah. They're pretty pricey. They can range, I have spent a lot of stupid money on Broadway show tickets before. But you can also get really good seats using TKTS. I've gotten front row for a Broadway show before. You can also get, not so good tickets, but it's a great way to get discount tickets for Broadway shows. So that's number one. The second thing you could do, which doesn't guarantee you a ticket, but you'll pay in a lot less this way and you'll get a really good seat this way, is by doing the lottery. The lottery, or what's called rush tickets, is where you can apply to get, usually it's 2 tickets for around anywhere from $10 to $40, and they're each per ticket, and they're usually in the front row of the theater. So that's pretty good. So this rush ticket thing started with the musical Rent when it opened in 1996, where the Rent was about a group of artists living in New York trying to make it through the AIDS epidemic. And since Broadway was so expensive, they decided to do a lottery system. So the first 2 rows every show had $20 tickets. You had to put your name in a raffle, and they'd pick names out of a hat. And if you were lucky enough for your name to be called, you would just pay $20 cash and get a front row or second row ticket for a show, for Rent, which was great. I mean, it won a Tony, it won the Pulitzer Prize. It's a great show. So a lot of Broadway shows have then taken that model and adapted it, whether it's like Hamilton does it for $10, but you don't have to go to the theaters anymore, which they used to do. Some of them you do. Some of them, they have like the box office opens at 10 a.m., first come, first serve. You just want a rush ticket, they'll give it to you. But a lot of them will have what's called a digital lottery. So you have to download an app, and if you have more than one family member, maybe they each make an account, and then you can, maybe the night before or early in the morning, submit yourself, say, hey, I want 2 tickets for today. And then around 3 o'clock that day, I think they will draw the names and let you know if you want a ticket. And if you do, then you can go to the show if you win. Now, it doesn't usually mean that, say you have a family of 4. One of you might win the two tickets but you might not win enough. So then you just have to go to the box office and buy like tickets at face value, which is what my third option was going to be, is just like go to the box office and see if you can work out a deal with them. A lot of shows will, I don't know if a lot of shows will do this, but I think some of them you can just say, what's like the best price you can do for me today? They might have discount codes like that the box office person can press for people. I don't know. I think they do. I would assume that they do, but that's also a good bet.
I guess my one thought, Steve, because I would always say, yeah, let's do the discounted option. But do you think on days when a Disney ship is in port, there will be less of those last-minute tickets to at least the Disney Broadway shows?
Most likely. I know, just kind of looking at, we've been to a couple of different Disney shows. We bought our tickets ahead of time. We haven't done like what Marcus has done, just because we knew the dates were going to be there. We wanted to make sure we got in. But they, just from my... I guess I wouldn't know exactly for sure if they'd be sold out that day or not, but I do know that you can go through Disney, and it's twice the price of what Marcus is saying if you book it through Disney to see the shows on Broadway. So if you want to save some money, you don't care about seeing the Disney shows per se, maybe you can save some money and do it like Marcus is doing. But yeah, if you want to see like Frozen for sure, then you're probably better off booking it ahead of time.
I mean, and obviously you can book it through...
the theater itself.
Theater.
You don't have to go through Disney Cruise Line, but they do offer that option to do that if you want to go through them. And I would probably price check it if I were between the two, because I'm not sure what all that includes with DCL versus just going straight through the theater. But I know that they were a lot cheaper than what they're advertising on the website here from what we paid. So
I was just wondering what show you saw when you were here.
So we've seen Frozen, Aladdin, and then my wife and I went and saw Wicked. And we really want to go see Come From Away. Oh, Come Far Away?
Yeah, I hear that's great.
Yeah.
Come From Away, you're right. Yeah, it's really great.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it, but I heard it's really great.
Yeah, so those are the only ones that we've seen. Aladdin was awesome. Frozen was okay. I don't know. If you're a big Frozen fan, definitely go see it. But we enjoyed Wicked. My wife's read the book years ago, and so that was pretty cool to see that. So
there's also a new, I don't know if it's new. It's new for me because I hadn't seen it, but there's a huge Disney shop now in Times Square.
Oh.
I guess it's been there a little while. Disney, they'll randomly do some stuff from there, especially with Good Morning America and stuff like that. So they'll have events that they kick off there.
What about, are you a sports fan at all?
A little bit. I like sports.
Okay, so we had a question from Joe from the Deciphered podcast. He's a big Mets fan. He just wants to know when his Mets are going to win the World Series and if you could help him with that.
Sure. Yeah. Is that baseball?
Okay, so not a sports fan.
No, I'm kidding. I don't really, to be honest, I don't follow baseball. I'm more of a basketball guy. My brother works for the NBA, so by default, I cheer for the Milwaukee Bucks anytime I can. So I'm from Milwaukee as well, and that's who my brother works for. I can't really comment on any baseball, especially the Mets. I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon, to be honest. I don't know. I like baseball. It's fun to go to the games. Go to the games quite a bit. Yankee stadiums in the Bronx. If you're able to catch a game, it'd be fun to do before a ship.
What about Brooklyn? The Nets. How's that taken off? They moved over from New Jersey from the that just kind of bad place where they were playing at to the Meadowlands. Finally, to someplace kind of cool down in Brooklyn. Is that kind of a pretty cool scene?
Yeah, it's really cool. The Barclays Center is where the Nets play. And it's an amazing venue. It's really cool. I love it. There's a lot of good food choices when you're watching an event at the Barclays Center. So that's always like, whenever I want to go see like an event or a concert, my wife's always like, "Where is it?" I'm like, "It's at Barclays." Then she's down. But if it's Madison Square Garden, even though it's like the more famous arena, she doesn't have as good. The food choices are not as good. Just being honest, it's not. They're just not as good. It's still cool. It's still cool to be at MSG. It's great.
All right, so we discussed like going to museums, Broadway, we can go see the big giant Disney store in Times Square. Where are some any other like off the beaten path, sort of cool things known in New York? What else would you recommend for people?
Great. So in Bryant Park is on 42nd Street and 6th Avenue, and it's a beautiful, beautiful park. They actually have juggling there every single day around 12:30 to 1:30. If you're into juggling, they just have like this, it's like a park run program where they just have a bunch of props laid out, and people come there every day on their lunch hour, people who work around there, and they just juggle for an hour, which is kind of cool if you're into juggling. That's my thing.
You don't say. So do you go there?
No, but I've never. No, I have been there before, but it's hard for me to go there
because you're a famous juggler.
Well, no, yeah, I mean not that. I mean I think if I went there, I would be. I'd have to go knowing I wouldn't juggle there at all, but more probably like people would ask for help, or I'd be like answering questions. I think it would be more of it wouldn't be like a proper practice for me to go there. It'd be more of like a social hangout. Right. I take my practice fairly seriously, so it's hard for me to. I would go there if I was like with some friends and we just wanted to mess around, but I wouldn't go there to get like a solid practice in, if that makes sense at all.
It does.
So, well, I think it's cool. I'm trying to think of like more off the beaten path places. Like I said earlier, I'm in Chinatown right now, and Chinatown is, of course, not off the beaten path. But if you walk down Canal Street, that's when they sell like all those trinkets and perfumes and Rolex watches, which I would not recommend buying, and Louis Vuitton, knockoff Louis Vuitton stuff that looks real but is not real. But it's kind of fun to experience at least once. It's fun to walk down there at least once and kind of just look around and people watch. And if you do find something at a shop you want to buy, you can barter with the people who work there. Say, oh, no, if it's $10, you can say, I'll give you $8. They're like, $9. You're like, deal. Then you saved $1. The South Street Seaport, I didn't kind of graze over that earlier, is really fun. It kind of got destroyed in Hurricane Sandy. Yeah, it kind of got destroyed in Sandy, but they've rebuilt it. And it's really nice. It's a good place to go walk around. There's some cute shops, open air restaurants, really fun. That's a good area. That's actually before we went on the schooner boat with my father-in-law, we did go to the South Street Seaport, and they have some cool things over there. They also have a TKTS booth. I mean, like you really can't go wrong in New York. There's something for everybody here. There's always special events. There's always a new museum opening. There's a Museum of Illusions that just opened here not too long ago. I heard it. I haven't been there, but I heard it takes like 45 minutes to walk in, and it's about optical illusions. So it's just like like your own eyes playing tricks on you. But if you want to get some good Instagram photos, that could be a good place to go. It's very interactive and immersive. There's also that people may not believe me, but you can also go on a whale watch out of New York City, which I didn't even know they had until like 5 years ago. But the water on the East Coast here is getting warmer, so the krill is then coming into New York City, and the krill is what the humpback whales eat. So the humpback whales then are in New York, and you can actually see humpback whales with the New York City in the skyline. It's the New York City skyline in the background. It's pretty awesome.
When is your New York whale season?
So it's happening right now. It'll happen until October. And then the whales, I think, the whales here will go up to like Nova Scotia, perhaps, in Canada. So it happens during the summer months in New York. I think it starts in May and goes till October.
Wow, I never knew that. I have never heard anything like that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, they have them in Boston. You can go out to the Boston Aquarium and you can see whales. You have to go about an hour out when you're in Boston. But in New York, you don't even have to go that far out. And you'll see them. I've done it a few times. And I think I went on one of the first few whale watches they had it's in Brooklyn, out in Brooklyn. And I don't think they were very well regulated because it seemed like the captain was just like driving to the whale. And if you're on a proper whale watch, they have restrictions where you can't go with it in a number of yards to the whale. If you've ever been to Alaska and done the whale watches, you know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
But yeah, so I think now they don't get as close. But before they were kind of uncomfortably aggressive with the whales. But yeah, that's always really fun. I would also recommend going to Rockefeller Center, you always see those people outside of the Today Show. And, it's kind of fun to do that. The co-hosts always come outside and will talk to people. I think that's pretty cool. It's pretty fun. Of course, Good Morning America is right in Times Square as well. You can also see a taping of The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. He's right on 53rd Street and Broadway. And there's a website called Interbridge. If you go to interbridge.com, it's a list of all the talk shows and who's going to be at each show that day, and if it's a rerun or not. And a lot of times you'll have a lot of fans waiting outside Colbert, because all the celebrities, when they go in for their interviews, go in a certain door on 53rd Street. It's kind of like the stage door for the Ed Sullivan Theater. And most of the time, the celebrities, depending on who they are, but most of the time they will stop and sign autographs and take photos with you. And I'm not talking like waiting all day over there. You can get there around like 5, I think, and they tape at 5:30. You can try to meet a celebrity, which, you know, it could be fun and entertaining for some people. I only know that I don't wait outside, but I was a guest on Letterman like 10 years ago. So I kind of had to go through that whole process. Of course, no one was waiting for me when I was on Letterman.
I bet they would now.
Yeah, you know, and probably not. But it was fun, and so that's also something fun to do. That's free, and if you're staying in Midtown, it could be a fun thing to like walk over there. And usually they have, you know, 2 to 3 guests on the show, so you never know who you're going to see.
Well, Marcus, thank you so much for all of your insight in New York City, man. It's been a lot of fun kind of catching back up with you and
yeah, you too.
Just taking a look at your city and stuff like that. Well, before we kind of close out the show, I know you're going to be heading down to Port Canaveral. What I think you said tomorrow to get on board the Disney Fantasy, and we're taping this September 16th, so you'll be heading down on the 17th.
Yeah, I'm actually flying down to Montego Bay to Jamaica tomorrow, and then we overnight. My wife and I will overnight in Montego Bay. And then we will get on the Fantasy. And yeah, it's going to be great. I'm really looking forward to it. It's been over a month since I've been on a Disney ship. So I miss it. I'm looking forward to being back.
Do you go through withdrawals at all as far as like cruising like the rest of us?
I go through like Mickey bar withdrawals. Like, I need my fix, man. Where's my Mickey bar? You know, yeah, I love it, man. I love the people I meet on Disney cruise lines. I love performing in the Walt Disney Theater. It's a beautiful space. Yeah, of course. I love it. I love doing the show. I love meeting people after the show. It's a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun. I do get withdrawals, yes, but it is nice when I am home as well. I'm just happy wherever I am. It's really the small things at this point that make me excited.
So besides the Fantasy, where else can people catch you? What are some of the shows you got coming up, and where can people catch you?
Great. Thank you. December 9th, if you're going to be in New York, I'll be at Monday Night Magic. You can just go to marcusmonroe.com. I post all my dates, but next week, I'm going to South Dakota, to Iowa, to Ohio, Michigan. No, not Michigan. I did Michigan last week. I'm going on a big college tour, and usually the college shows are open to the public. So if it's your chance to see my college show for free, it's a good way to do it. Not all the shows are free. Some of them are ticketed, so you might want to check with the school. But if you go to my website, all my shows are posted. So as soon as I get off from the Disney Fantasy, I'm not even going home. I'm just going right on tour, driving around to a bunch of different cities. Yeah, it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Christy, any last questions before you finish up here? You still there? I think Christy.
Oh, I'm muted. I didn't know I was muted.
Yeah, any last questions before we finish up here?
Sorry. Do you have a Castaway Club number?
No, I don't. Do you have one for me?
I wish.
Darn it. No, I don't get anything fun like that. But I mean, it's fun to just be on the ship. No, I know if I did have one, it would be crazy, wouldn't it?
Yeah, they should give you the number of nights.
Yeah, I think they should give it.
Exactly.
I think I should get the airline miles too that I travel, but that doesn't work either. So.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, you don't get that, do you? Darn it,
dude!
You have to pay for a ticket.
That's true.
Yeah.
Well, what if you do a jump seat, Steve? Do you get it for a jump seat?
No. The only way you get it is if you buy. The only way you get miles is if you buy it, or if you get the credit card, I guess.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Well, cool. Anything else you want to share as far as like things that are happening with you that's new that you're going to be bringing to the show, or anything else before we finish up?
He's got some new bowls coming.
I'm going to be going and getting some new bowls today. Yep. Other than that, every show I do is a little bit different than the next. You know, I try to do a lot of improvisation in my show. So if you've seen my show before, still come back to it because chances are something's going to be different. It's always a lot of fun. The adult show I have a blast doing on Disney. It's really super fun. But I'm on Instagram at Marcus Struggles, Facebook.com/Marcus Struggles. Twitter, I got my name, so it's at Marcus Monroe. But yeah, if you have any questions, if you're going to be on a cruise, send me a message, let me know, and come say hi to me after the show.
Awesome.
Well, thanks again, Marcus, man.
My pleasure. Thank you.
We just love your show. We love the entertainment that you bring to the cruise ships. And
Oh,
thank you so much for being part of our podcast. And for those of you who hadn't listened to the other show that you were on, go back to show number 95. You can hear all about how Marcus got started and a little bit more about just his shows and generals on board the ship. But thank you for our look into New York today, and we wish you the best and safe travels when the show's coming up.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you, Steve. I appreciate that. Safe travels to you too, Christy. Hope to see you on a ship soon. I know you haven't seen the show yet, so I hope you can see it soon.
I hope so as well. I wish I would have known
Awesome.
you were in Michigan recently.
Yeah, I was in Detroit at the War Memorial in May, and then I played Central Michigan University 2 weeks ago. But I'm sure I'll be back very soon.
All right.
Perfect. Well, all the best, Marcus, and we'll talk to you soon.
Sounds great. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Well, that's going to wrap up our show today. Once again, I really want to thank Marcus for coming on and sharing his insights into all there is to do in and around New York City for those of you who may be sailing on the beautiful Disney Magic this coming fall. And it's, as we kind of wrap up this show, it's November 24th, or excuse me, it's September 24th, 2019, and the Disney Magic has pulled into New York, and she'll be getting her first sailing tomorrow down to Bermuda. So for all of you who may be sailing on her this fall out of New York, just have a wonderful time. And once again, Mark is just such a great friend of the show. Really appreciate the time that he's taken to be part of our show. And you can catch him on board some of the Disney ships this fall as well. He's on the Fantasy right now. He's getting off tomorrow. Then he goes on a college tour. And then he will be back on board the Disney Fantasy from November 13th to the 20th. And then on to the Disney Wonder, November 22nd through the 25th. And remember, you can always go over to marcusmonroe.com to check out all of his schedule, where he's going to be appearing and where you can catch him. Just a super fun act, and Christy and I just love his sense of humor, and I hope that you guys do as well. So between now and our next show, if you would like to help support us, you can always do so via our Patreon program. That's patreon.com/DCL podcast. You can go over there and find out all the information in regards to that. You can always get a hold of me, Steve, through email, the old-fashioned way, steve@dclpodcast.com, or Christy over at christy@packyourpixiedust.com. Of course, you can find us on Facebook, both of us at DCL Podcast, and myself on Twitter at DCL Podcast, and Christy as well at PackYR Pixie Dust. So between now and our next show, if you guys are heading out on your next vacation, all of us here at the DCL Podcast would like to wish you fair winds and safe travels as you head out on your next adventure. Once again, thanks for coming back and taking a listen, and we'll see you next time on the DCL Podcast.